In the fourth quarter of 2020, the country's economy exited recession, recording its first growth in 3 quarters as the lockdown occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic was lifted across the country. While the country's gross domestic product grew 0.11% in the 3 months through December from a year earlier, compared to with a decline of 3.6% in the third quarter. For the full year of 2020, the economy contracted by 1.92%, better than the International Monetary Fund projected. Now, the NBS said that although the growth was weak, it reflects the gradual return of economic activities following the easing of restricted movement and limited and international commercial activities in the preceding quarter. That's going to be our focus of discussion today, and I have with me in the studio CEO of Finance with Mukhtar Mohammed join us now to discuss this. It's good to have you join us on a wonderful Monday morning.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
All right, so hearing this would have been good news, for a lot of persons. It's good news. We're exiting recession, but a number of analysts are worried. How frail or fragile is our economy?
Very fragile, very frail, and like I always say, Nigeria goes to recession when the price of oil goes down. I've said it on this program. Nigeria comes out of recession when the price of oil goes up. So there's no any magic we are doing. There's nothing we're doing differently from what we've been doing before. Once the price of oil goes up and we have our good outputs, then we get our groove back. And that is a major challenge, because the real GDP, I call it the real GDP, when you say the real GDP is the one that affects the people in the bottom. Yeah. And that's the real GDP, the ones that create jobs, the one that economic activities match with job creation and then follow up with wealth creation for the people. We don't see that. What we see in our GDPs, activities, economic activities, is just like somebody roller coaster. You're just rolling coaster. You're at a point, but you're doing a lot of activity. Nobody seems to see the result, but you're doing a lot of activity, and that's what's happening in our economy. So,
according to this report by the NBS, they harped on the fact that we got that growth from the non-oil sector, ICT, telecommunications and all. Do you think we can harp on that to give the economy that supposed rebound?
I normally say when the price of oil is down, every government thinks of diversification, and after the price of oil comes up, we go back to normal. And so that's our way. And if you look at the ICT, you won't be surprised that it gets the highest growth to get us out of recession, because you remember when we were during the lockdown, that seems to be the only sector that was up and doing all over the world. So we shouldn't be an exception of that. So I'm happy that sector have always been there. That sector has always grown the economy. If you look at the players that are there, the players that play that sector are always the telecom players, and most of them are multinational companies that play that space. So I'm not surprised the telecom sector is giving us. The non-oil sector, yes, it gives us a little bit on the NBS report because of the opening up of a lot of other sectors, especially in terms of agriculture. And that is very, very good. But can we substantiate that? Can we move a bit further? And that's the challenge. Can we begin to think of how we can get competitive advantage in the area of agriculture? That is where our challenge lies. We can be jack of all trade, you can be masters of none. We need to begin to look at our competitive advantage in agriculture, how we can export this product. And by doing that, we need to end foreign exchange. By bringing foreign exchange, then we need to, that will begin to grow make our naira stronger. And that is one area we've not been able to capitalize in, because it needs a lot of infrastructure. We need a lot of storage area, we need a lot of transportation, and then those are not things that you just develop overnight.
You're mentioning the sector. If you take a look at one of the subsectors, which is Nigeria's cattle herding system, we're still having insecurity plaguing that system, plaguing that particular sector. Do you think it's sustainable for us to really, really depend on agriculture, considering the various challenges? Even if you look at the ICT sector, electricity is one major factor that drives that sector. So do you think having all these challenges, we'll still have that rebound that was into?
I think the most challenge is the security challenge. And fortunately for us, but maybe unfortunately, fortunately for us, it's a challenge that can be handled, because it's a challenge that involves dialogue. You need to provide for the enhancement to let them know that, look, this is your space. We're going to provide grazing land for you people. We're going to give you the infrastructure. The era whereby farmers, enhancement needs move from one point to another, it's over. It's not in the 21st century any longer. So we need to begin to think of how we can help them in that area. Then once you do that, then the farmers also know their own boundary. You need to crop this area. You allow this area for grazing. Those are things that could be addressed. The second challenge, where I said unfortunately, is that we seem not to have the political will to do that yet because we seem to be politicizing everything. Like I keep saying, there are two sectors you don't politicize. You don't politicize your security, that you have to do with defense, and you don't politicize your economy. And when you look at that sector, the two things that are affecting us there is security and economy. So it's something we need to look beyond party lines. We begin to put in patriotism, and then we address those challenges. So they're not insurmountable challenges, because they're challenges that have to do with man-made challenges can be solved with man-made method, and dialogue is just the way forward.
When I heard this news last week, you know, some persons were a bit pessimistic about the fact that we had 0.11% in 3 months, because for the ordinary man on his own table, he does not get the multiplying effect. That's
what I said, activities over the economy, and yet it's not going down. You see, the challenge is that with the type of intervention the government did during the lockdown, unfortunately, it's not measuring up because of weak structures and weak infrastructures. Weak institutions. Those are the challenges. But in terms of activities, they seem to make the headline. But in terms of adequately touching those people in the bottom line, there's still a challenge. And that has to do with the structure and the weak institutions that we have. Over time, it's surprising even that we are out of recession so soon. I think this is the fastest. And remember, that was our worst recession in over 30 years for us to get out of it. So it shows that there's resilience in this economy. It shows that this economy is still very, very strong. But it needs a lot of policies, a lot of political will. Whatever we are enjoying in this economy at the moment, it just has to do with the monetary side. We've not been able to get it in the physical side, in terms of policy, in terms of job creation, in terms of direct intervention. That is where we are lacking. And that has to do with the executive and the legislators and the judiciary, because those are the key sectors that drive those policies and make those policies work. So we need to work on those sectors.
CEO Finance with Mukhtar, it's good to have you join us in the studio to discuss this. Hopefully, we'll get to see that we record another exit from recession.
We will. As long as the price of oil keeps going up like it's going. Benchmark was just we put our benchmark at something like $45, and oil price now about $63. So we are out.
We hope for better days. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio to discuss this.
My pleasure always.